in ninth grade, before I had got pregnant, that was actually the first time I talked about it before, the first time I'd actually drank. Right? So one of the first times that I actually drank to get messed up was ninth grade.
Welcome back to the Hopeaholics podcast. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie.
And I'm Chad Carlson, and you're listening to the #1 addiction and mental health podcast.
And you guys, if you or a loved one is struggling, make sure you head to askevamarie.com or chaddick.com and chat with one of our AI companions 24/7.
Or text the number right here on the screen.
Together, we are breaking the stigma around addiction and mental health.
And fighting the fentanyl epidemic.
Now, let's get into the episode.
I'm not a bad person.
What? Where did this? I have no idea. We're not doing your inventory,
I'm in
buddy.
trouble.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that before we start.
I swear, guys. I know this is just starting, but I am not. I'm going to say it now. I am not a bad person.
I wasn't nervous until that comment.
Yeah, way to.
I love it.
All right, Wendy, welcome to the Hopeaholics podcast. We are live for the last 45 seconds, so I may have said something I shouldn't have.
Ooh.
Usually that's about right.
It's all good though, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a fairly decent human being trying to get a little bit better
There you go.
There you go.
on a daily basis. What about you, Wendy?
Yeah, I'm a decent human being too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always say doing better, a little bit better, being better every day.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I expect anything more than that, I'm setting myself up for failure.
For sure.
Right? Like I'm just trying. Right? That I know that for sure. I get up in the morning and I'm just trying to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
With
I mean,
what
that's
I
all
got.
that's all we can do, right?
Totally.
It's progress, not perfection.
That's right.
I mean, thank God, because you know what? If it were perfection,
Well, everybody would miss the mark.
I would be falling short every single day, and I would be disappointing God and everybody around me,
Totally.
including myself.
Yeah.
I think Tom Brady has a quote that's like the relentless pursuit of perfection, which is like not bad. It's just that you constantly chase. So it's good.
Only top people though, like Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, they actually chased perfection, knowing they would never achieve it. Do you think that us addicts, chase perfection? But we might think we might achieve it someday, and that's where we might be screwed up.
Yeah. I think what we're pursuing, like using that addiction to chase, sure, that's great. But yeah, for me, I'm never gonna get it. And I'm literally gonna be devastated in myself.
Yeah.
Like I am practicing the progress. That's what I have to do. Like it's not even progress, the whole progress over perfection or whatever the phrase is, right? Like I am practicing the progress, hoping that I'll be a little bit better. I just got to try.
Yeah.
I just got to try because my unrealistic expectations of myself is wild.
I know.
Yeah.
And like you get set up for disappointment every time.
Over and over.
Yeah.
And what I've realized is I am not a perfectionist. For the longest time, I would tell you I was a perfectionist, but I am not a perfectionist. I am afraid of failing. I'm afraid of being humiliated. I'm afraid of being criticized. So I would say that I was a perfectionist, but the truth was I would only do things that I knew I was going to be good in, and then say I was a perfectionist. I would never try the hard things. So a perfectionist, I'm not. I am afraid of failure. So that's why I have to keep trying. So for me, that's the opposite right there. Like, just practice the progress.
Wait, but does that mean that you're not really afraid of failure? Because you know very well that's why you keep trying, because you are okay with failing, but you continue to try again, which is really the epitome of fall 7, get up 8.
Right, which is true. But if I think of it as perfection,
sure,
that's where I'm fucking myself.
Yeah.
Right, I got to take that word out.
Yeah,
because then I won't try.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to be humble.
Yeah.
I'm learning. I had in my big book, right? So I remember saying one time in a meeting that I was going to stay humble I was like, yeah, God and AA, and I'm going to stay humble. And an old timer looked at me and she goes, oh, honey, you got to get humble before you stay humble. I was like, oh, wow. So now I'm just trying to get humble, right? I don't wake up humble. I have to wake up and turn to God. I have to wake up and, practice my program and practice certain things in my life, my spiritual life. Like I have 6 pillars that I practice every single morning. And if I don't start my day off with that, oh man, I'm a hot mess.
This episode is brought to you by Wolfpack Bags. This gear is meant for anybody gym, lifestyle, to anybody that's on the move. I mean, I like to say that us here and everybody that tunes in, we're not average. We're always a wolf. They have all the goods that you need, especially for anybody that is looking for a bag to carry their meal prep, a lunch pail, anything like that. They have you covered. So once again, go to wolfpack.com, use the code Hopeaholics, save 10%, and join the pack. Oh, what are those 6 pillars?
So I get up and I breathe. That's number 1.
Okay.
After that, it's gratitude. After that, it's intentions. And then it's meditation. And then it's mindful movement and mindful eating. And that's in the first 30 minutes of my day.
Tell me about intentions. What do those look like?
They're actually really simple. How do I want to show up for myself? How do I want to show up for others? What's holding me back? What do I need to practice that day? Character traits, values, principles. And I literally can put it in a really simple statement, right? Like,
So you write.
Both ways. I can't. If I said it all the time, I'd be lying to you.
Yeah.
I go through phases.
Yeah.
Where I'm texting, I'm writing.
Sure.
I can't have it look the same way or I get bored.
Yeah.
And then I don't do it. But yeah, it's real easy. I can just be like, today my intentions are, right, to show loving kindness towards myself. Ask for help when needed. But it's really simple.
Yeah.
Right? Just based on how I'm going to show up for myself and others. Yeah. Being of service.
Yeah. I wonder, writing is great, right? I don't do it, so I can't, tell you how great it is, but I know it's great. But speaking is great too. Cause if you go back and and not everybody believes everything I believe, but, God made us in his own image and God spoke everything into existence. So speaking, what you speak is extremely important, and how you say it and what you say, cause you're putting that energy out into the world when you say it.
It's powerful. Words have power.
Yeah.
Words have power, not only, for our brain. Like the brain doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie. What you tell it, it believes. If I sit here and say little things like, God, I'm so stupid, the brain hears it.
For sure.
It does not know. And, and I've learned that all through my practice, right, of my meditation, my yoga, my spiritual practice.
Yeah.
And so it just blows my mind that I can also put into existence, like, I am amazing and I am powerful and I can achieve anything and everything, right? I don't always believe it, but the brain's hearing it.
No, for sure.
Right? So it's starting to happen. It's starting to take truth.
Yeah.
Right? So,
I always say it, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and it's true because, like you said, our subconscious doesn't know the difference.
It doesn't.
So people will argue with, fake it till you make it. Well, it's kind of the truth because you're saying things that you might not necessarily, even when you first start the program and if you don't believe in God, my sponsor, my sponsorship line would always say, it doesn't matter. Just say the third step or seventh. It doesn't matter what you even believe. Just say it out loud.
True.
Just say it. And then eventually in time, that spiritual connection hopefully ends up developing, which usually it does. But it's important the way that we speak to ourselves, especially because we're our own worst critic.
Absolutely. And that fake it till you make it. I remember I used to, that phrase was killing me. And then I heard that act as if, right? So for me, I have struggled with faking. I have struggled with showing up and saying I'm okay when I'm not.
Totally.
And I'm that chameleon, right? And I'm whatever you like, whatever you do. I have lost myself in so many different people, right? And so I had to start taking masks off and I had to start getting real true and real with myself. What I found with my higher power is I found my higher power in my steps. Do the steps, right?
Yeah.
I did the steps. I did the work. I did the therapy. I found my God. Right. And then from there, being able to do that act as if, that's in 6 and 7. That's in our character defects. Right. So I need to act as if, whatever it is. Right. As long as I'm using the character defect, I can ask God to take it.
Sure.
Right. So if I'm dealing with selfishness or impatience or even, that self-harm on myself, right, I have to do the opposite. That's the acting as if.
Yeah.
When I act as if, then God will remove what I'm no longer using. Right. And I love that part. So act as if. That's big in my life.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I want for everyone that's listening is Wendy is, I would like to say, an OG of ours because she came to our Recover Out Loud and literally crushed just everybody in the chat, everybody that was on that Zoom, on that meeting, really soaked every word that you spoke that night. So we're really excited that you're here to really dive into your real entire story, you know, because Recover Out Loud, you just get a little glimpse, you know, 20 minutes of kind of the nuts and bolts of how it was and what it was like and how it's like now. So I think we should go back, right? Into like where she's from.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Ooh, we're taking it back.
We're taking it back.
Oh yeah, because this is a lot longer podcast.
Oh,
so we're going deep. We're gonna go deeper than we went.
I know that I was literally like hanging on every single word. Just you have a very soothing voice too, so I think it came across for everybody that tuned in that night too. Walking away feeling really, really full. Yeah.
And that I can feel my chest getting hot and my face getting a little flushed. And, you know, my purpose really is to be of service to others. And I found that lately in some of the things that I'm doing, meditation, I'm teaching meditation, and I'm finding that, man, I have a passion and I have, and I'm going to put it out there because I'm going to claim it, right?
Yeah.
Like I have a talent for it. Like I have learned to take all of that crazy pain and suffering and really dig deep and really find the peace, right? And the soothing, calming, like take you from one side to the other. I used to sing when I was little. I used to sing like solos and I played the flute and I would do funerals and weddings and I sang in the choir. And when I started drinking and using, I lost the ability to get back up on stage when I got sober.
Wow.
And it's broke my heart that I can't do that. Like I can't like channel that anymore. But what I really think is God is giving me something to do now, right? I feel like my voice now is just used in a different way, right? So it's thank you. And I'm glad that people are feeling, I don't know, just some type of peace and comfort. So much pain in the world. So going back, it was funny because I talked to my mom yesterday and I was like, okay, Mom, I'm doing this podcast and I don't know what's going to come out.
Right.
Because that's what happens. I say all the things that I'm going to say and I literally hit the front door and I go, okay, God, let's go.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I'm here. I'm willing. Just let me be honest. We talked about that last time.
Yeah.
Just let me be honest. So, you know, I always have this conversation with my mom because on the last podcast, she found out things she didn't know. And it was painful. And that was a little hard for me, right? So coming in, I was like, damn, I don't want to be guarded. You know, I don't want to be guarded,
Sure.
right? I have kids. I have grandkids. And I had to be, like, I really wanted to think about not hurting people at the same time. But with that, you know, I'm just going to give you how it was.
Yeah.
So I was born and raised locally. Not here locally, but in Covina, West Covina, you know, down in that area. I came from a really good family. I have an older brother and a sister. My parents were married until my dad passed away. You know, I had a good childhood, middle class, and I never had to want for anything. My brother and sister didn't have it so easy. They kind of went through the suffering parts of like financial burdens with my parents.
Okay.
You know, my mom and dad got married really young. My mom came from an abusive home. So she was raised, in an alcoholic home. So she was raised in an alcoholic home and she suffered a lot of abuse growing up. So when she was able to have a baby and get out, she did. So my mom, you know, had my brother really young. So my brother and my sister kind of went through a little bit of hard times more than I did as a kid. By the time I came along, me and my sister are 5 years apart. So by the time I came along, my parents were doing okay. Right? So financially, we were good. I had a really good childhood. I played sports. I played softball growing up, and I bowled. That was our thing. Bowling was our family thing. So I used to bowl every week, and won all these tournaments and went to Washington, D.C. one time on a scholarship and won these state stuff. And so I come from an athletic family. But it's really interesting when you look at our family. I am literally the black sheep. Literally the black. You look at our family pictures. My brother and sister are the all-American, right? The sports, homecoming queen, that type, like very popular. And then you looked at me, and I was chubby and weird hair and just awkward and didn't fit in. And I don't know what that was about. I don't know. I developed really young in life. So at 9 years old, I started to become a woman. And I know we were chatting a little bit before about how we all go through these different stages of growing up.
Yeah.
Right? You know, being 9 years old and being in a woman's body is terrible. It's absolutely a really confusing, hard place to be fully developed at 9 in 4th grade.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of teasing, a lot of boys touching me, groping me.
Yeah.
You know, bra straps, pulling, right? Like the and they're boys, right?
That's what we do.
Exactly. Right? But it was hard because then, you know, walking to and from school, having men, you know, the noises, the cackling, you know, making all that stuff, right? That was rough. I already felt weird. I already felt awkward. It was already a hard stage. And yeah, so just not fitting in. Same, right? Social anxiety, all this stuff. When I was 11, 11 years old, one of the first things that really affected me was I was walking to school one day and I jaywalked across a street, me and a girlfriend. And as I jaywalked across that street, we got up onto the middle island, and right as we step up, we could hear tires screeching. And I turned around and I saw a little boy get hit and killed. And I remember seeing him fly out of his shoes. And it was one of the first times that I had experienced just a trauma, right? A trauma in my life. That was rough. I had so much guilt and shame. I'm not even going to say shame, guilt. I felt so responsible for walking across that street and having him follow us. Oh. You know, that I remember thinking if I wouldn't have crossed the street, he wouldn't have died. And I held responsibility for that. It was the first time I think that I really experienced that I did something wrong or bad, and I was responsible for that. Then, you know, fast forward to 11, I, you know, ditched school one day. I ditched school to go hang out with some friends. I was going to meet some friends at their house. I ditched school. I was really good at ditching school at that point. Okay, because I was so mature and I sounded so old, I would call myself in sick all the time. I would literally call my first period and pretend to be my mom, say I was going to be late, and I'd go to first period late, right? We had a pervert teacher in that class. I hated my first class in 7th grade because that teacher would look down my top. He was just so gross. And never spoke up, just thought that's the way that it was, right? Never knew that I had a voice to speak up. Yeah, so I would ditch that class all the time. I'd go in late or I'd miss or whatever. But that year I actually had some friends like, hey, let's go hang out and have breakfast. So I, you know, ditched school and went to this friend's house. And when I got there, my friend wasn't there, but the older brother was. And he was like, yeah, come on in and you can wait. And, you know, that day changed my life. That day was a day that the first sexual assault that I experienced in my life. I was 11 years old. That day I lost my virginity. I was beat and bruised and bloodied when I left. And I was held there for, I don't know, a whole school day, whatever that day was, right? I don't know how long it was, you know, but there was so much confusion in my head. I'm 11 years old. I look like a woman, but I have the mind of a child. And not being able to understand anything that happened. And at the same time, thinking to myself, if I wouldn't have ditched school, this wouldn't have happened. I just had that mindset that you shouldn't have been there. And if you wouldn't have been there, like, again, guilt, and that was a really interesting time in my family's life. At that time, my brother had just had a baby out of wedlock, and my sister had just moved to college. And then this just happened to me. My dad had a heart attack. It was like everything was kind of chaotic in our home. So as all this was happening, my sister came home to be with my dad. My brother's trying to figure out what to do with a new baby and a wife. And there was a whole, what they're doing as a couple. And so my brother's moving back home with this baby, and I don't know. Life was just crazy at that time. My sister dropped out of college and came, back, and she did a 1 year, I think, in college. But with that whole situation with me, I held on to that responsibility. I remember when it came out later, because my parents didn't find out right away. They did get notice later through a phone call. I don't even know how it happened. Me and my mom had conversations more than once trying to figure out how this actually played. She has her story. I have my story. What I know is our perspective is our reality, and trauma has a way of making you forget things.
Yeah. And
see things the way you want to see it. But I do know that the police were involved, and we did get the police involved, and they put me in the back of a police car, and they took me down to a hospital, and really, back then, right? So I'm not very young, right? I'm in my late 40s. And back then, it was treated different when someone was assaulted. There was a lot of victim shaming. There was a lot of, what were you wearing? What were you doing? What did you say? Right? And those were the questions I was getting at the hospital. So at the same time, I have in my mind, I shouldn't have went there. This would have never happened if I didn't ditch school, right? And at the whole time, this same person that did this to me threatened me the entire time. He would find me, he would kill me, he'd kill my family. He was, part of this gang in LA. There was weapons involved that day, right? So there was a lot of threatening with weapons, and I was petrified of him. And again, I was 11 and he was 20. So it was exactly. So definitely an adult, right? It wasn't, no. Anyways, not that any of it is right, but he was an adult. But just kind of with that whole situation, there was a certain point where I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I started to say, you know what? I participated. I consented. And I just wanted it to be over. And then I started lying, like, no, I went there and, I wasn't this, I wasn't that. And then because my story got muddy, then they couldn't press charges. And then everything got dropped. He continued to live in my neighborhood. I continued to see him around town. I lived on a main street, and a Blockbusters was across the street, and I would see him all the time. Like, I would be on one side of an aisle, and he'd be on the other side. Just a lot of intimidation and being afraid. I got into therapy at that time, but that's kind of when my self-harm really started. So since that moment, 11 years old, I have participated in self-mutilation. It's something that, honestly, like, all these years forward, I finally have like a clean date from my self-harm, and it's only a couple years old, right? That's how long I've struggled with it. I've struggled with self-harm, self-mutilation, eating disorders, really just imploding and harming myself in different ways. And so that has really been a struggle that has stemmed back all the way since I was 11. Got into therapy, did a whole bunch of, good old treatment, and started to kind of, move forward and move on. There was a stint of a psych ward in there, right? That time there was a psych ward and family counseling, and that was fun. Like, I totally remember my sister coming in for group therapy and being like, what is this? And what is happening? And why are we here? Why do we have to do that? Like, she was not very happy with me, right? I was messing up their life. That's how it felt. Was that the truth? I don't know if she'd tell you that, right? My sister, I envied my sister. She's gorgeous. She's tall, brown hair, blue eyes. She did good in school, and she's this athlete, and I always wanted to be her, be like her, and I was nothing like her, right? I was short, chubby. I used to steal all her stuff, right? Like, I'd put on her clothes, and I'd rip her jeans, and then I'd try to hide them, right? Because we were so different in sizes. but I just wanted to be like her. My brother, on the other hand, he was already had a family, and my brother was always a protector for me. He was always a protector for me and treated me very well. So anyways, I went through that whole stint in the psych ward. In there, I learned how to tattoo with a pen and a needle. I learned how to fight. I learned how to huff. I learned I didn't learn a lot of good stuff in there, and came out and just kind of went back to life, right? So right now in this point in my life, I'm only in 8th grade. So I'm in 8th grade right about here. I started getting really promiscuous. I really started acting out. With different people and just experimenting and just kind of trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing with my life. And I really felt like that's what I was for. I don't know. I look back now and I don't understand why I felt that or thought that, but then I know the trauma. Like, I understand trauma does that within us after a lot of therapy. Mm-hmm. But I met my oldest son, his dad. And so I was 14. Well, no, I was 11 when I met him, but we started kind of hooking up when I was 14. Mm-hmm. When I mean hooking up, we bowled together. Again, I was in the bowling alley all the time. Yeah, so we bowled, right? Like, that's how I got to do things, is the bowling alley. And he came from a very broken home, right? He was in a gang, and he lived a lot on the streets, and he had an abusive mom, and there was a lot of drugs and alcohol, and he was just trying to escape from his own life. And he ended up moving in with someone really close to me who was on the bowling league. So I got to know him, right? And he became my protector, and we started kind of hanging out and getting to know each other. And when I was 14, I got pregnant for the first time. Wow. And I remember sitting down with my parents and telling them I was pregnant. And I just remember the disappointment and the shock. I can't even tell you if he was there or not. I don't really remember. But about 3-4 months later, I had a miscarriage. And I remember that whole thing being a big deal too. Like, I had to be in the hospital, and it had to be surgical, and it was like this big thing for my family, and to then 6 months later get pregnant again by the same guy. And so I had to tell them again. And this time I couldn't even tell them. I literally wrote a letter. And I handed it to my mom, right? Like, there you go. Because I couldn't say the words. I was raised with values and principles, and I was raised in a Christian home, and we went to church 2 times a week, and I went to church on Sundays, and Wednesdays, we were there for Wednesday Bible study, and I went to Awanas, and I knew all the Bibles and the book. Like, I was very involved, right? And I was so shameful that time, right? Just feeling like such a failure and a disgrace, and scared. And I remember actually getting pregnant on purpose. I actually got pregnant on purpose. I knew when I could get pregnant. I knew exactly what was happening. This was an actual conscious choice that I made. I just wanted to be saved and loved and cared for. And I don't know why I thought he was the reason or the answer. I really think that trauma of him coming in right after I experienced something so traumatic, and he said he was going to protect me and take care of me. It was almost like that trauma bond, right? Like, he was my savior. And so, yeah, he went into the Army, and we decided that we were going to have this baby. And I had my first son at 15. Wow. And life was weird. Right? I'm a 15-year-old with a baby, and I remember going into the hospital, and I didn't want to hold him. I gave birth. I didn't want to hold him. I didn't want anything to do with him. Yet this was what I wanted, to save my life and make everything better, right? Like, I wanted this, but I didn't want this. And, baby daddy took off. He didn't stay. He went into the Army. He got kicked out of the Army, and it was just, torture after that. In and out of our lives. And I can tell you, to this day, he's been in and out of our lives, and my son is 34 years old. He's never been a part of. But yeah, my mom had to put that baby in my arms, and she was like, no, you will hold him, and you will do this. And I held him, and he looked like this little, he was in like this little papoose, and he was fat face and black hair and black eyes. And I remember looking down at him and thinking, oh my God, he's ugly. And I tell him this all the time, so this is not a surprise to him. And I was like, ugh, right? Like, I don't want to do this. And like, I just didn't get it. And yeah. So baby daddy came to the hospital and said, you will name him this or I will have nothing to do with him. So I remember that I named him a junior after his dad because that was the condition. And then after I named him that junior, he gave me $1,000 and he bounced for a little bit. That was kind of it. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah, so here I am, 15, have this baby. I'm in ninth grade.
Wow.
Yeah. So in ninth grade, before I had got pregnant, that was actually the first time I talked about it before, the first time I'd actually drank. Right? So one of the first times that I actually drank to get messed up was ninth grade. I went to ninth grade to high school for 3 months. So that first day that I went to high school was the day that I decided to get a big tumbler like this, and I poured vodka into it until I don't know how far, and a little bit of orange juice, and then I walked to school. And that was a disaster. I still, to this day, don't know why I did that. I don't know why I thought a drink was the answer to feel better to go to high school. My parents are not alcoholics. They did not drink abusively in the home. My grandma, yes, I never saw my grandma drink. My grandpa died from his alcoholism. So when I was 4, my grandpa died from his alcoholism. And by the time I got to know my grandma, she died with 25 years of sobriety.
Wow.
I never saw it. But somehow I knew that would make me feel better. I still wish I knew the why, but I don't. That was my first experience with drinking, where I got messed up. And I just kind of jumped into life. I was, a good mom. I was a really good mom. I worked. I went to school. I had 2 jobs taking care of this baby. He was in childcare. I did not rely on my parents for anything. In fact, I was kind of the opposite. I was so stubborn. Like, I didn't realize that moms help their daughters when they have babies. Right. I didn't realize, like, that's the natural process. I'm a grandma today, and I know that when my daughter-in-law had her baby, I was like, how can I come help? Let me come stay with you. Let me hold, change, whatever. Mm-hmm. My mom was doing all those things, and I would not accept any help. I remember one of her girlfriends telling her, oh, just wait. She's going to have another baby in a year or 2, and you're going to be taking care of those kids. She's going to be out there running the streets. And I remember hearing that. And I remember thinking, fuck you. No, I will not. So I kind of got like really focused on doing all the right things. Right? And I did. And we did okay. I graduated high school on time. I was working full time. I bought my first car at 18. Life was pretty good. Baby daddy's still coming in and out, right? I had a couple boyfriends, which was nice. People that would accept me. Again, in that circle, it was always that circle of friends. Thank God for bowling, right? Thank God for bowling. But it allowed me to still date and have friends and have a life. When I was 18, I met my first husband. I have a lot of husbands. I got baby daddies and 2 husbands. And so, I met husband number 1, and that was through work. And it's just so interesting because I am such a codependent. I am such a fixer. I definitely look for people to fix and to fill some void within me. I really think that's where a lot of my like behavioral stuff started first. Codependency, looking for love, looking for things from like eating to fill voids. When I met my first husband, I was kind of overweight. I had already struggled with bulimia. That was in middle school. So I had already been like really binging and purging. I had already been to a doctor who had put me on diet pills, who told me that I was fat and that I, basically needed to do something with myself. I was about 12 to 14, somewhere around that age. It was before I had my first son. So I'd already gone through all of that, find him. And my first husband already had 4 kids. He was 13 years older than me. He was going through a messy divorce. He lived with his ex-wife. And I was like, I don't know why I'm like, you're the one. I can help you. Right? I can help you. I looked at him because he loved his kids so good. He was a good dad. And I fell in love with that, what he possibly could be for me. And yeah, so we started dating and I was pregnant within 3 months. Yeah, so I was, 19 when I had my second child, and that's my daughter. That's my middle child. We stayed married for about 5 years, and things got ugly. More with me probably than with him. I was miserable. I did not love him, but I married him for what it might be. I did not want to be a single mom again. Being a single mom was hard. Did I do it? Yes. Is it the best thing I ever did? Today I can say yes. But at that time, I did not want to raise a baby by myself. And so when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, we're doing this, right? And he was all for it. But first I had to get him divorced. I had to get him divorced, get his child support set, take care of all of his debts, worked on all of that, got his credit all good, got him all settled. As I imploded, right? So when I met him, I was about 200 pounds. And at the end of that marriage, I was 350. I was 350 pounds at the end of that marriage. And, there was so much in that time that the behaviors, the acting out, right? Like he didn't treat me the way that I wanted, so I would go and act out in other ways. Right. He just he couldn't show up for me as a husband with the stuff that he was dealing with. I try really hard to tell my story and not other people's story. Yeah. But he had his own stuff. Right. And he was struggling with a lot of things and he couldn't show up. And not that gave me any reason to go anywhere else, but that's what I did. Right. I'm someone who has those behavioral. I go looking for love. I go looking for attention. I go looking for things outside to stuff my inside feelings. And so there was a lot of little partying then, right? Little partying. I had been like going out, happy hour. I drank normal at this point, right? Like I didn't have a drinking dependency. There was no drugs, nothing like that. Literally, I was just playing around. There was a certain part when I knew our marriage was over. We tried therapy. We tried, marriage counseling, this, that, whatever. He didn't want to work on the marriage. He didn't. I told him we either get therapy or we get a divorce lawyer. He said, I don't think we need therapy. And I was like, right? Like I didn't want to give up. I didn't want the divorce, but I didn't want to stay married either. I was completely abandoned raising, kids on my own. And by this time, and I should tell you, I now had 3 kids. So my 3rd child was born in this time too. We were married for a couple years and I decided that I wanted to have another baby. And it's the first time in my life where I tried, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm married, we have good jobs, we're doing well. I want to have a baby. And then I couldn't get pregnant. And then there was that struggle of not being able to get pregnant, right? And again, I was extremely obese and so was he, right? He was also extremely obese. There was a lot of medical things that were going on. I did eventually, conceive. I had this baby, and that was my 3rd son. He was born with health problems. With him, I had a lot of problems in my pregnancy. I was, bedridden really early. And again, I'd had a stroke at that point. Oh, wow. I'd had a stroke. I was on bed rest. And when he was born, he had health issues. So he stayed, in the NICU for a little bit. And, today he's happy, healthy, and free. But boy, was it a struggle in the beginning. With him, he like kidney failure stuff in the beginning. When I was pregnant with him, they shot me full of steroids, a whole bunch of steroids. When he was born with his organs not developed, but his body was. So he had to stay in the hospital for a little bit and catch up with everything. By the time he was a year and a half, 2 years old, our marriage was just a disaster. Like I was doing everything on my own. And I actually I always like to say I got permission from my pastor to divorce him. I don't know why I say that. I feel like it gives me a card, like I didn't do anything wrong. You know, he wouldn't do therapy, so I did therapy with the pastor, and the pastor agreed that he had abandoned me, right? And I could divorce, and so I did. So I divorced, and but here's the thing: something in my history, something that I do. I'm in one relationship, and when it starts to go down, I pick up another relationship. So I slide into another one as the other one, like, so at one time, that there's always two at the same time, because I'm afraid to be alone. I don't want to be alone. And so I will slide into this one, and then eventually I'll let go of this one, and then I shoot off with that one. So that's definitely a pattern that I found in doing step work. Mm-hmm. And so even in that time where my pastor gave me permission to get the divorce, I already had my eye on someone else. So I had my eye on somewhere else. And as soon as he said I had permission to divorce my husband, I literally moved him to his mom's house. I was like, you're out. And he went. It was really a crazy time for my kids and my parents, because I lived at home with my mom and dad. My dad was sick with cancer. I was taking care of my dad at the time. And my husband, my kids, we were all there. All 5 of us lived in my parents' home. And my dad was terminally ill. And so I moved husband out and literally moved a boyfriend in, like the same weekend. My son went to camp one day and came home to a new dude. Like, it had to be the most confusing thing for my son. I think he was about 9 years old. Yeah, my youngest was 2. They're about 4 years apart. My kids are 4 years apart. And so that was a really confusing time. My parents literally went to Arkansas. They came home to a new person also. It was wild how it just like in and out. And when I met George, such a gentleman, such a old school, pull out my chair, put on my jacket, shut my car door, right? Everything I had always wanted. Right? That's what I was always looking for, right? And that's what got me. Right? I'm broken. I'm telling you, at this time, I'm broken. I am, at that point, I'd had a gastric bypass, right? Because I really thought that if I fixed the weight problem, I would be better. It was always like, if I fixed the job, if I fixed him, if I fixed my weight, I was always fixing everything else. Never looking within. And, so when I met George, I'd already lost about 100 pounds. I remember when I had that gastric bypass, I started that process with one person and ended it with another. Because again, out with one, in with the other. I like slide them in and out. And so, and I laugh. And that's part of my like humiliating, like demoralizing things that I've done. I giggle and I laugh because it's not who I am today. Mm-hmm. But man, uncovering that stuff in my work was painful.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I knew I was doing it, but I didn't know I was doing it over and over again. But I had that gastric bypass, and we started partying, me and George. We were having fun, so much fun. Right. Like, I remember going to the bars and doing tequila shots for the first time. I was 25 years old. I've never done a tequila shot. I never experienced drinking. Right. And so I just remember having a lot of fun. We used to throw darts and play pool, and I'm good at that shit. Right. So I told you I'm a bowler. Mm-hmm. Right. Good eye-hand coordination. So I am amazing at pool. I'm amazing at darts. Right. I was on teams. I'm telling you, it was a good time. And until it wasn't a good time, that gastric bypass, man, weight loss surgery. It's a very common story that once you have this weight loss surgery, that you transfer just to another addiction, right? You transfer from one to the other. And the way that alcohol processes in my body is way different, right? So I literally can take a drink, feel amazing, and it's gone like that. So I'm chasing it again. And then it's gone. And so it's constant. And they tell you when you have that surgery, do not drink. Do not drink.
Oh, wow.
But, I'm defiant. The first time I drank alcohol, I was 9 years old. And the reason I drank that alcohol is because my mom told me not to. She said, don't touch that alcohol in the back of the refrigerator. She said, that's for grown-ups. That stuff right there, that's for grown-ups. And I remember thinking, ooh, She said, don't touch it. It must be good. Defiance. I've always struggled with defiance, right? Don't touch that. That's the first time I drank. I got sick as a dog. On the story of defiance, I was telling my mom about this last night when I was like, Mom, I don't know what's going to come up. And I was like, do you know the story about the cat that I stole? And she was like, you stole a cat? And I was like, yeah. I said, I always have been like, don't tell me what to do kind of girl. I said, well, you told me I couldn't have a cat. And I decided I wanted a cat. And I was somewhere in school age, right? I was walking to a girlfriend's house and I walked down the street and I looked over to the side and I had saw a mama cat had just had a litter of kittens. And I remember going over there and I took a kitten from that litter. I took that kitten and I was like, I will now have a kitten. And I took that cat home, eyes closed, umbilical cord still attached.
Oh.
I know. And I took it home and I put it in my drawer so that I could have a cat. Now, I'll tell you right away, the cat did not die, right? Because everyone's always like, oh my God, did the cat die? Right. The cat did not die. But then I was like, oh shit, now what do I do with this cat, right? I have a cat. I'm like 10 years old or something. I don't know how to care for it. And I decided I needed to take this cat back, but I couldn't put it back in the same place. So then I didn't know what to do. So I am a great problem solver. So I took this cat. I went to the nearest cat lady in our neighborhood. Like every neighborhood has a cat lady.
Yep.
We had one. Her name was Polly. Loved this lady. And I went up to her and I was like, Polly, I found this cat in the gutter and I'm so afraid it's going to die. Can you help me? And she was like, oh, yes, honey, I can help you with this cat. Let's take it. I'll help you. She took that cat in. And that cat ended up surviving. But I'm telling you, every time I walked by her house, she was like, oh, honey, you're such a hero. You saved the cat. And she would show me this cat. I stole the cat to then return the cat to save the cat, right? I mean, anyways, defiance. Anyways, where was I? I'm now.
Gastric bypass.
I'm partying.
Yeah,
partying.
The alcohol,
oh my gosh.
All of a sudden.
I'm partying. And I'm partying with everyone and anyone. And I am still all over the place and doing those things that, that a good Christian woman doesn't do. And, a lot of demoralizing moments. And I'm now starting to have fun with other things too, right? Now I'm dabbling in some drugs and just doing things to help me drink longer and, just dealing with some little party favors and going home with people and waking up in places I shouldn't be in. Some with my partner, some without my partner, and just life got really wild for a while. I only drank for 5 years. And I look back, I have relapses, but I still don't consider that drinking. Like I really only enjoyed that, if you call that enjoyed. Like I partied for 5 years, but it got bad fast. It got bad real quick. At this point, I had went back to school. I became a preschool teacher. My youngest son, he did have some things that he was struggling with behavioral issues, and find out later that he is on the spectrum, and that's the one who was in the NICU when I first had him. And that whole controversy with they put a whole bunch of steroids in you and how it affects your children in womb, and anyways, I don't know why he has autism, right? I don't know, but it was a big struggle for a long time. I was so blessed for the school that I went to, because they were able to diagnose him that he needed some help and get him in some special classes. And that was actually a life-saving moment for me and him to find that out. Because again, I was already drinking and I was already using and I was already kind of reliant on alcohol. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't see the things that were happening with him, and I didn't understand either. And so a lot of extra services kind of scooped in and helped with him. And right at that time, my dad was really at the last of his lung cancer. My dad had lung cancer for 5 years. And I can remember going to school and being like, I'll be right back. I have to go home and take care of my dad. right? So I would tell them, I'm going to be back. I'm going to go home. I'm going to take care of my dad and I'll come back. And everyone thought, again, I was such a great daughter, such a hero, going home, taking care of your dad. What a great daughter you are. And I was like, yeah, I just got to get him his medicine and his food and I'll be right back. And the truth was I was going home and I was doing that, but I was drinking because I was withdrawing, right? So I was using him as an excuse to go home and drink. But yet everyone was giving me the pat on the back. What a great daughter you are, you know? And, you know, my dad was my best friend. And it was really shitty that that's how I showed up for him. Really, really shitty that that's all I had to give. And, you know, he passed away in 2003 and my drinking took off. It really took off. And I was 24/7 drinking every day, couldn't stop. I couldn't get out of bed without a shot of tequila, couldn't brush my teeth without a shot of tequila. I was the one that I would take a drink and puke, take a drink and puke and take a drink and go, oh, sorry, like finally, right? Because it would stay down. And I knew that I would just be well, right? You know, during that time, you know, here my dad passes away. I'm at my worst. You know, one of the things is my children, right? The mom that I was with my kids. I couldn't show up. I couldn't show up. I was drinking and driving, you know, wasn't caring for them the way that they needed to be taken care of. I do not know why I didn't get a DUI. I do not know why I was never arrested or my kids were not taken, because my kids deserved to be taken from me. I deserved the DUI. All of these things, it didn't happen. I am grateful. And I know that there's some reason for it. Because if I would have got what I deserved, my kids would be gone, you know, and I would probably have a different story. But during that time, you know, trying to stop drinking, I tried on my own a couple times. And I would just violently detox and convulse. And I remember the one time my mom in there just being like, what is happening? And here I'm shaking and convulsing and I'm withdrawing and she's wanting to call 911 and I'm saying, don't you dare. They will take my kids. Do not call, you know, and, you know, never thinking like what my mom is looking at. My mom is watching her baby girl withdraw and almost die from these seizures. And the truth is, it's exactly how her dad died, right? Because my grandpa died from his alcohol withdrawals, you know, in the hospital withdrawing from alcohol. And that's how he passed. And I put that same pain, you know, on my mom. I eventually did get to a detox. A lot of help with my mom. Because, you know, she would call and they would go, she has to come, and she'd put deposits down and I wouldn't show up. And I would be, I'm going. And I wouldn't. I would go for like a 30-day, I don't know where I'm going. Still had George the entire time. Wow. Me and George are doing all this together, you know, and I eventually did end up in a detox. And I remember sitting outside in front of, it's ARC in Pomona. I would go back anytime and speak there, and because, man, it saved my life. I remember sitting out in that parking lot, pounding a bottle of tequila, thinking, Matt, this is it, right? This is the last time I'm going to drink. And I knew it, like, this is it. This is the last time. And I drank that half of that big-ass bottle, and I stumbled in, and they slammed those doors behind me. And I've never heard something so bone-chilling in my life. Like, closed, clink, and knowing I couldn't leave. Like, that part is frightening. Right? Went through detox, and, you know, found the first sick male in there to buddy up next to, right? Because that's what I did, like, even in detox. So, you know, me and the nice heroin addict, we hung out together, we detoxed together, we shared some extra stuff he'd brought in, and my detox kind of went like that, right? Alcoholics Anonymous did come in that day and do a panel. And that is what saved my life, right? It wasn't actually the detox, and it wasn't the heroin addict for sure. I did follow him out, though. Like, I did follow him out. We tried to be on the outside together. That was wild. Anyways, but I did hear Alcoholics Anonymous while I was in there. A panel came in, they spoke, and I heard something. And I remember that when I got out. And when I got out, I started doing steps and I started going to meetings, and George, gone. George was gone. He literally disappeared off the face of the earth, to the point where his family was afraid, and we did police reports and we went looking for him, and he was missing for quite a long time. When I went into that detox and the door closed, he lost it. He took our vehicle. He went down to the beach. He decided to drink himself to death. So he went out there and he decided that he couldn't do this without me. Like, he can't get sober. So he's done. He's ending his life. He took all the pills that I had. He took all the alcohol. He literally stole my car. Police reports and looking, and his kids, he had 3 adult children. And he was 20 years older than me. Told you I liked older men. My first husband was 13. Second husband was 20. There's another boyfriend in there that was 30. Anyways, older men. Shout out to Michael, who's younger. Like, we're on the right path. We're going the right way. But, one day my phone rang and I answered it, and it was George. And I said, "Where are you?" And he goes, "I'm in the hospital." And he didn't know what hospital he was in. And he didn't know what had happened. But he was found in a gutter, just profusely hemorrhaging and vomiting, and was taken to a hospital and hadn't ate in weeks. He was probably 40 pounds underweight. And that's where, so I went into detox, and, that's where he ended up. And the thing with the heroin addict didn't work out. So me and George hooked back up again on the grounds of he would get sober, because that was part of it. Like, I was working a program and I was in AA. I was doing this thing. I was trying to change my life. And the only way I'd let him back is if he worked a program. And so he agreed. And we got sober. We did. We got sober and we started doing the deal. And life got really good. When I went into that detox, we were engaged. We had been dating for 5 years. We were engaged. He gave me the most beautiful proposal. When we got engaged, I remember him taking me out to the beach. I'd never seen a sunset before. He took me out to the beach. He put me out on this jetty. He proposed to me as the sun was setting, like this whole beautiful moment, right? As I'm literally puking because I'm withdrawing because I hadn't had a drink, right? He asked me if we can get married, and I'm like, yeah, we, got engaged. And then that's when I went to detox and he ran. So we found sobriety and started doing this life. And I worked the steps, and he didn't. He stayed. He lingered AA. What I realized is he watched me. He did not like the attention that I got. He didn't like the time that I gave. He now that I'm separated myself from the relationship, I've done the healing, I've done the work. I know that he was controlling, he was manipulating, he was abusive. The things that I allowed were not okay. I became an empty shell when I was with him, and I called it love, and I called it protection, and and at the same time, we had a house and businesses, and so, like, on the outside we looked really good, and on the inside there was a lot of abuse happening in our home. And so I got about 6 years of sobriety, and we moved up to the high desert and bought a house, and life was good. And I just started to kind of take steps away from AA. And we ended up, we had a beautiful wedding and got married. And, there's a lot of good in our love story, and there's just a lot of trauma and pain. And so at our 5-year wedding anniversary, we drove down to the beach and took our chopper out. We had a custom chopper. Oh, so nice. Custom, beautiful paint job with ghost flames and the long front. Oh, gosh, it was gorgeous chopper. And we went down on PCH and rode, and we were, you know, clean and sober and doing the deal and having a good time. And that was the weekend that we drank together.
Wow.
That was the weekend that we drank together, that we, you know, gave up that sobriety that we had. I remember sitting in front of a liquor store, and like we'd done many times, went in, got chips, soda, like all this stuff, right? Not a problem. Alcohol, it wasn't a problem. We'd been romanticizing certain things. Like we'd been talking about the good old days. We'd been romanticizing about the drinking and the fun times. And we were not connected to AA. I did not have a God. I was literally just, he was my everything. And, but I remember sitting in front of that liquor store and looking at him and then looking to the right, and there was a bar. And I remember looking at the bar and looking at him, and I said, "You want a drink, don't you?" And he's like, "Well," I said, "Well, let's go check it out." Right. And I blamed him for that relapse for the longest time. Right. For the longest time. But, you know, we went in there, and just to have two, I've never had two in my life. I've never had two. It's always been doubles. It's always been this, chasing that. I have never drank for the taste. It's always been for the effect. It's always been to get messed up and escape and disappear, right, for that feeling. And that night was no different. You know, we closed the bar. We took alcohol home with us. We took people home with us. We took other stuff home with us. Like, that's what we did. We just took everything home with us. And, you know, that we were, again, down at the beach, and I don't know if I had a great weekend or not. I know that I woke up and drove home with the bottle in between my legs because I couldn't stop. Right? Once I started, I couldn't stop. And, you know, we dabbled in and out trying to get sober and couldn't. And he went into a couple, you know, places and couldn't. And his dad passed. And just, you know, life kind of happened. You know, in that year of me relapsing, a lot of stuff happened in my home, a lot of abuse on my kids, just as far as me not caring for them and taking care of them. And, you know, my mom reminded me of a story that, you know, that one of my kids said, "You guys are drinking and driving, aren't you?" And they were in the car with us. And George made one of them get out and walk home, right? Like, don't tell me, and literally made one of them walk home. You know, I didn't pick up my kids from school. They got taken to the fire department. My mom had to go pick them up, like all those things, right? There was a lot of stuff that was happening. And, you know, I, again, told you I dealt with self-mutilation. When I drink, that's where I go. Wow. I start cutting on myself. I start slicing myself in an angry rage, right? I am so angry inside and I'm hurting so bad. Like, I can't drink enough to drown it. So I start cutting on myself. I want to drown out this pain. I want to feel this release, and I can't get it, right? So I turn inward. I become suicidal and dark. And in that state of drinking, I hurt myself in ways that I'm not aware that I'm doing.
Right.
You know, I had sliced open my leg really bad one day. My leg butterflied open, and, you know, can't go to the hospital. I'm loaded. I can't go to the hospital. You know, all these things are happening in our home. And so I'm scared. So what do? We just wrap it up. We bandage it up. And he sent me home to my mom's. He was like, "You need to take care of your daughter." And so George sent me off. And that was how I got sober the second time. You know, and he couldn't get sober, though. I got about a year of sobriety. I ended up coming back home. Our marriage, you know, was what it was. And, you know, as my story too, like, and I told you guys this before, and I hear it all the time with people who drink and use, like, our timelines are weird. We can't always remember, like, maybe what happened here happened there and whatever. So, you know, I'm as honest as I can be. I do know that there was that year of sobriety that I just wanted him to get sober. I just wanted our family to be fixed. I just wanted it to be what I thought it could be. And so I literally just turned everything to him, right? I'm going to get him in rehabs. I'm going to get him clean and sober. I'm going to this, I'm going to that. And in that time, I focused all my strength on him, and I lost my God. I lost myself. I lost everything, just really focusing on him. Our relationship was abusive, really bad at that point. There was a lot of physical abuse that I was enduring from him. My kids at this time, I have to tell you, none of my kids lived at home, right? They're all now out of the house because that's how much time has passed.
Wow.
You know, my oldest son is getting ready to get married, and my daughter is living with friends but somewhere else. My youngest son, his senior year, he decided that he wanted to go live with his big brother, and so he was out of the house. And so it was just me and him, and it was really ugly, and it was really just a painful time in my life because I just really wanted him to get right, you know, and I just really thought that if he did, things would be good. And, you know, and I took as much as I could take, and just, you know, he would keep coming home really messed up and saying he wasn't. And then there would be the abuse. And then, you know, it would just the cycle. And at one point I had enough. And I started stashing money, and I started looking for a place to stay, and I decided I was going to do this escape plan. And I am sober at this time, and I'm a little bit connected with people. I'm talking to my daughter, and I'm letting her know what's happening, and I'm like, you need to come get me. I'm moving out. And so she agreed that the next day she was going to come get me. And that night, me and George got into a huge blowout, and I said, I am done. I can't do this anymore. And like, I can't. And he did the whole, what? What do you mean? What's happening? Right? You know, he was just out of his mind. And so I said, yeah, I'm done. I'm leaving you. And I slept on the couch that night, and he slept in the room. That night was really weird. I listened. As I laid on the couch, I listened to him moan and groan and have night terrors all night. I heard all of this crazy stuff in our room. I don't know what was happening, but there was just these night terrors that he was having. And there was one point that he came out of the hallway, and I was pretending to sleep on the couch. And I remember him just staring at me, and just this dark presence. I don't even know how to explain it. I pretended like I was asleep. I was just breathing so slow, pretending like I was snoring. And he sat there and he stared at me. And then he just kind of walked back and went to the room. And I went to bed and got up and went to work the next day. And when I came home that next day, I came in and my house was weird. Doors were locked that usually aren't locked. I'm one of those OCD kind of people. So like I know where things are and where they're supposed to be, and things looked weird. Like my office was organized weird, and my dogs were outside and they're usually inside. There was just all these weird things. And I walked down the hall and my bedroom door was locked. And I was like, why the fuck did he lock the door? Right. And so I'm pounding on the door and, you know, open up the door, and I'm screaming and yelling because I know he's passed out in there. Like I know what's happening. And, you know, he's not answering. And I go get my keys and I unlock my door, and I come in and I see him, you know, laying on his stomach. And I was like, that fucker, man. Right. The room smells. And I'm thinking, did he smoke weed in here? Like, what is the smell? All right. Like I couldn't figure it out. And I'm pushing him, and I'm like, get the fuck up. And now I'm cussing, get the fuck up. And, you know, as I walk around the corner, you know, I see that he's laying down and there's a gun in his hand. And, it's at that time that I realize, like, he has shot himself in the head, and he's not passed out. And he didn't smoke weed. And I'm looking and I can't figure out what to do. And I finally can like get it together, and I call 911 and I'm like, I need, you know, the ambulance, and I need some help. And they're like, do you need life-saving measures? And I remember looking at him and going, I see his brains. Like, no, I don't. And it's the first moment that I realized really like what had happened, right? Like I could see there was a hole in my TV, and I could the room looked like a murder scene. And I just remember going to the front of my house, and I know that I called people. Like, I know my brother showed up. I know my sister showed up. I know my daughter showed up. I don't remember how that went and what order. I just know that then emergency services came, and they started to tape things off, and they started to do investigations, and then I just remember it finally hitting me. It finally hit me, and I remember, I swear someone stabbed me in my heart. I swear I was having a heart attack. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't, like, the pain was so intense. I remember just falling to my knees. And the reason I always tell this part of the story is because I believe the next thing that happened was just sent from above. I totally believe it was God. The coroner came over to me, and she grabbed me, and she put her hands on my shoulders, and she said, "Look at me." She said, "Look at me right now and breathe." And I did. She said, "I want you to know there's nothing you could have done to stop this, and there's nothing you did that caused this." And I remember thinking, but I was leaving. I told him I was done. And when I said I was done, I never thought in my wildest thought that he would harm himself. And I was leaving, but I always thought, he'll get it this time. He'll hear me, you know, and I'll go do my thing, and he'll get sober, and I'll come back, and it'll be good. And she looked at me, and she said, "There's nothing you did to cause it, and there's nothing you could have done to stop it." And I heard her, and I don't remember the rest of the night, right? I don't. I know that my brother and my sister had, all came in and rallied in our house, and, they stayed with me until they took him out. And I remember my family just cleaning and cleaning, right? Because of the disaster that was in that room. And, where he took his life, the blood just literally just went through the bed we had this really high bed, and it just went through all the things, all the way into the floor, into the cement. And I remember my brother and my sister just cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, and they just couldn't get it out. And so they ended up taking all of the furniture out, and cutting the carpet. Like, they didn't know what to do. At a certain point, they didn't know what to do, so they started cutting the carpet, right? And I wasn't able to go into that room for a little while, right? There was a lot of days and that I couldn't go into that room. The reason I told you the story about when he stood at my bed at the couch, I was sitting on the couch, the reason that I try to remember that part of my story is because in that moment, George was the person who always told me that he would never live without me, and that he would take me with him. He always told me, no one will ever have you, and if I go, you're going. And he always told me that. And a couple days later, after going into my bedroom, I went in, and it was probably a couple days before I could take a shower, brush my teeth, or comb my hair. Like, I don't even know how many days. But I remember going into my bathroom, and I opened up my drawer where my brush for my hair was, and everything was moved out of the way. And there was just a single bullet that was left there. And, I feel like God saved me that day. I really believe his plan in that moment. And I can't, what am I to know what he was thinking or saying? I know that his only way out of his pain and misery was to take his life. So he thought. But I'm so grateful that he didn't take mine, because I truly believe that that bullet was mine. I don't know if he left it as I'm not taking your life, or here it is for you to take your life. Like, I don't know, but I just pushed that aside and didn't really know what to do with that. You know, life got weird for a long time. A lot of, I don't remember, a lot of autopilot. I went back to work 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, I was a preschool teacher, and I went back to work 2 weeks later. And just thought, this is what I need to do. And so I just tried to jump back in again. I got a year of sobriety. And I didn't hang on to it. And I ended up, about a year and a half into that, I ended up relapsing. And
how old were you?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. 30. We were together for 16 years, me and him, and we met when I was 25. Yeah. I ended up relapsing. So, I mean, I do, like, right now I have 6 years right now. I'm 49. I have 6 years. And so, I was 40, because I remember saying I'm a 40-year-old widow. I remember saying that, like, I'm a 40-year-old widow. Like, who thinks they're going to be a widow at 40 years old? You know, I am grateful that my daughter lived nearby. She moved back in with me. My son that had moved away for his senior year, George took his life the day before his 18th birthday. So every birthday, my son has a birthday and has to remember, you know, the day before, you know, his birthday. I'm grateful he wasn't at home, though, and that I'm the one who found him and not my son. I can't imagine what it would have been like for my 17-year-old son to find his dad. And so I'm, you know, grateful that it was me, not him. And so, you know, in that relapse, I met someone, because that's what I do. Nothing changed. I met someone and bonded with him through that trauma, right, of losing George, because it was someone that was in our circle. It was someone who was also suffering from the loss. And, you know, we bonded on that. And again, very unhealthy relationship, very toxic relationship. You know, it served its purpose. I was in that relationship for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And in that, I was able, though, to come back into recovery. I was able to, you know, really get off of everything, right? I was smoking this, smoking that. I was taking this, taking that, drinking. Like, I was everything that I possibly could to not feel, to not deal. And this last, you know, stint, I was like, I got to get rid of it all. It's the first time that I ever hit my knees and asked God for help. And I have to tell you, that is absolutely the difference between any of my sobriety dates, right? Like, I did the work and I did the stuff and life got good. I can't ever tell you that I hit my knees and literally cried out for God until this time. This relapse was so many different ways painful, physically, emotional, spiritually. Like, I had nothing. I was trying to deal with the trauma of, you know, that suicide and the things that were coming out in, you know, things that my kids had gone through, things that I didn't know that was going on with them, and just different type of, you know, struggles my kids were having with all of my relapses. You know, every time I relapsed and we hurt them more stuff came out, and there's so much that I didn't know, and just trying to hide from all of that. So I was really putting a lot of things in my body. I did find sobriety, thank God, right? Thank God. I did find it. I did cry out. I did end up in some programs and some outpatient and intensive outpatient, right? I did dual diagnosis. I did all of this processing. I did so much therapy. I just didn't want to go back to anything that I had had before. And I'd realized I'd always been blaming all of my using on something or someone, right? It'd always been someone else's problem, something that happened to me. Well, don't you know, when I was raped when I was 11, don't you know, when I was 18, that there was a gang rape? Don't you know? Like, all the things I was always blaming someone else, something else, and this time I just wanted to be honest. It was the first time that I was truly honest and realized that like I was doing this to myself. And IOP helped with that. It really did, right? It helped me really uncover and go deep, and dual diagnosis. I was diagnosed with some mental health, and that, thank God I was, right? Thank God I was diagnosed and treated and, put on some meds and had to deal with some mental health shit that, you didn't know was happening. And, it's like, what comes first, like the drinking and the drugging or the mental health, right? Or does the mental health come from the drinking and the drugging? Or like, who knows, right? It's got to be dealt with, though. Mm-hmm. It's got to be dealt with. And so I'm grateful for treatment, right? I'm grateful for places that I went to. I couldn't just do it in the rooms of AA. I couldn't. Like, I had to do a lot more work. And I'm so grateful that I did, right? So I did all the therapy and started to, heal. I started to uncover a lot. I went through, I always say, a couple years of mending and ending relationships, right? I had to go through that, right? I had to find out who was toxic and who wasn't. I had to realize what were my toxic traits, right? I had to do a lot of inner work. And in that time, somewhere within those years, I became a martial artist. Wow. And I started practicing martial arts, and I started getting into fitness. And I started to love my body and have fun working out, right? Told you I was 350 pounds, right? 350 pounds.
Wow.
Today I'm way less, thank goodness. I went to have some test done in the hospital the other day, and she was like, so you weigh 143? And I was like, yeah, kind of. And she's like, do you not? And I was like, well, no, I weigh 134. And she was like, that's right, claim that, right? I know it's not a lot, but I've worked really hard for it. Right? I've worked really hard for it.
What are you talking about? Shit, that's a huge celebration. 350 to 134, girl, you celebrate that shit.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
yes.
incredible.
Like, I remember the time I went through a turnstile the first time and I didn't get stuck.
Yeah.
I was so big I had to go through the emergency.
For sure.
Handicap, right? Like, I couldn't even get through, right? So my life started to change. I started to get into martial arts, and I started to teach kids, and I eventually stopped teaching preschool. I couldn't teach preschool anymore because everything reminded me of my husband. They always said, where's Mr. George? He was part of my classroom. He was always part of field trips and events, and we used to prep stuff at home, and like, he was my classroom also. And so everyone knew him on campus. And so I had to leave. I had to leave, and that's when I moved back towards where my mom lived and got into fitness and, was in that toxic relationship.
Still?
Yeah. And that was part of the mending and ending. Mm-hmm. It took me 2 years to find the self-esteem, the self-worth, the self-love, to realize that I was settling for crumbs and that I still felt guilty and undeserving, and I was still trauma bonded to this person, and I had no idea. I did not know I was in an abusive relationship until I got out of the relationship. It was the same thing with George. I didn't know I was in an abusive relationship until he passed. Like, I couldn't see what I couldn't see. But I'm grateful for all those lessons and the moments of the aha all of a sudden, right? Once I realized that I was in that relationship, it had to go. Like, I loved myself too much, and I was afraid that I was going to drink and use over this relationship. And I knew that there was nothing that could get in the way between me and my recovery. And so, yeah, needed to end that relationship. And here I'm teaching fitness full time, and I'm really, in AA and doing life. And, it's amazing that when you get rid of all the toxic, that God will put the right people in your life too, right? And that's just, kind of where Michael kind of comes into my story. And, he did his work and I did my work. And now we're just two individuals living this beautiful life, right?
How did you guys meet?
We actually met in recovery.
Like
totally,
at a
totally
meeting
met
or
in a
treatment?
meeting. Yeah. So I was actually speaking. I was a 45-minute leader at a recovery center, and he came. He was having a hard night, and he needed a meeting.
Yeah.
He needed a meeting, and I remember standing up there and sharing my story, and I remember looking over to the side, and I remember thinking, God, that guy's hot, right? And just kind of, literally just thought,
yeah,
he's hot. And then I kept sharing, right? And that was that moment. And that was like, I saw him.
Yeah.
Then I started to see him.
Yeah.
Right. Then he was at the park meeting. Then I was like, oh, he's friends with friends. Right. And I did the whole friend request. We still fight today who friended each other first. Yeah. I'm not sure. We try to look at like when your friend comes up, right? You're like, whose comes up first?
Yeah.
I don't know. We still can't figure it out. But yeah, so he told me about some yoga class that he thought I might love. And so I went and did a yoga class, and he joined me, and we had our first date before
that was a play. Oh, for sure.
He'll be here Friday. You'll have to ask him.
I will ask him. That is going to be something that I remember. Yeah. And
something like that, Chad. Maybe he just wanted to get his yoga on. You know,
that ain't no guy.
Yeah, that's a good little date, though.
He was actually doing yoga.
It's a good date.
I know, but like, if it's a
great date. Because it's like super casual. You're doing something healthy. You're doing something like physical, which is great. And it's also not.
So guys, any guys out there that are looking for a date, Natalie would love for you to ask her out to yoga, please. But you first have to DM me to see if I even approve of qualify for you DMing her first. And I'll accept your requested DMs, because you guys also have to remember I have a lot less followers, so I'm gonna see the requested DMs. So go ahead and hit me up at Chaddict4Ts if you want to date with Natalie Eva Marie.
Oh, that is
what do you think about that one, Lewis and Emily? Good one? You have to follow me.
Emily.
Yeah. I love Emily. She totally got my back on this one.
Anyways, getting back to you, Michael. So you guys go to yoga.
So we couldn't wait till the first date. We couldn't wait till yoga. He asked me out before.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah, he did. So he took me out for dinner and a movie, and that was actually our first date. And yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, very respectful, and just really bonded right off the bat. Right? I don't know. Our energy definitely connects. We are definitely aligned. Yeah. But yeah, we are so different.
He's a really nice guy, though.
He
really is. He really is. And yet, you know, I'm feisty enough to like hold my own with them too, and we have a blast.
Yeah.
Nice.
We have a blast. And we still take care of our recovery.
Right.
Yeah.
I made it very clear. And he feels the same, but I made it very clear that God and AA come first before anything.
Good for you.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've always said that, you know, for me, God and AA are the same. For me to have my God, I have to have my program. And for me to have my program, I have to have my God. They're linked. I can't have one without the other. They are not different.
Yeah.
They're the same.
I remember you saying that at the meeting. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, we love that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I
that's,
agree.
I mean, if we dive into the Alcoholics Anonymous book, I mean, you can't.
Exactly.
Well, and you can't have like the inner peace and the like inner like self-love that is so highly, you know, pushed out, especially right now with, you know, love yourself and the self-esteem, which is great. But for at least me, you can't have just AA.
Exactly.
And get all of those benefits, you know.
You can't have one without the other. What's that from? And marriage, love and marriage.
Oh my gosh, do you know that was mine and George's song? We walked into our wedding reception.
Oh wow.
That song.
Whoopsie. Hopefully that made you feel interesting.
Wow. You know what?
I don't even know how to react now.
I totally.
That's crazy.
I totally believe in these signs. I believe
too.
things come full circle. I have done so much inner work and so much healing when it comes to the way that George died.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Suicide is
rough. That's like
horrible for the people who are left behind.
Yeah.
I will never have an answer. I will never know. Right? The answer for me is there is no answer. You want to talk about the most ultimate acceptance, right? Like, I will never have an answer of why. And at the same time, I know that it's not for me to know, and it's for me to just do the work and dig deep and find whatever peace I can have. I am still in contact with his kids, with two of his kids. They are beautiful, right? He has adult children. He has grandchildren. One of his grandchildren, I remember the day we held her when she was born. She just started her senior year.
Wow.
So I still have that connection. You know, my kids are amazing. My life today is amazing, right? My relationship with my mom, she is my best friend. Me and my mom did not start to get close until my dad passed away. He was my everything. And I think when my dad passed, it made me turn kind of towards my mom and allow her to be my mom. I don't know why I was so standoffish and didn't want to connect, but I didn't. And so my relationship with my mom, she's my best friend. I would do anything for her. She would do anything for me. We care for each other. And my kids are absolutely amazing. My oldest son, you know, that one that I had at 15 years old, he has led a beautiful life, a beautiful life. He went into the army to get away from us, I'm sure, right? And he turned his life into something amazing.
Nice.
Wow.
He has retired from the military.
Wow.
He has an amazing job that's, I don't even know what he does because all the stuff he does is so top secret. I don't even know anymore. But he lives a great plush life with a beautiful wife. He has a beautiful trust in God, right? His relationship with God, I look at him and I think, how? Like, that's what I look forward to having, the trust and faith that he has, that he raises his family with. You know, my daughter just graduated nursing school. She's an RN, and she starts her nursing job at the end of this month and starts a master's program. And that little one who's on the spectrum is amazing. He's funny as fuck and lives independently. He has this beautiful life. He has a girlfriend. He owns a home. He works a full-time job.
Oh my gosh.
You know, he went through 12 years of speech therapy and other therapy to really figure out how to deal with what he was going through. There was a moment for me and him where he was listening to a podcast of a Christian disc jockey who had autism, and he was talking about being on the spectrum and how his son was on the spectrum. And then I remember my son looking at me and saying, "Is that what's wrong with me?" And I said, "Oh, baby, there's nothing wrong with you. You know, we're all uniquely made. We're all just kind of a little different." Right? But it was that moment that he was able to grasp that there was nothing wrong with him, that this is just who he was. And that was in middle school. And things started to get better from him from that moment.
Nice.
When he moved in with his brother, things got really, he needed the male figure. He needed the father figure trusting in God, showing him how to live. And today you'd never know.
Wow.
He's got
That's
a few little weird things he does, but you would never know. He's funny.
So does Natalie.
Don't we all?
What are you saying?
Huh?
What are you saying?
Nothing. I was just letting our audience know that you have a few little weird things that you do.
Yeah, she's talking about her child that was on the spectrum. So you're referencing as if I was.
I was
You
not.
know what I'm saying?
I was just ready to throw it down for you.
Like, I just had to put it down real quick because I'm like, no. It's okay.
It's brotherly love, man. It's brotherly love. Don't worry about it.
So today I'm teaching fitness full time.
Yeah.
That's
for you.
kind of what I do.
Good for you.
And I'm in this transitional moment right now where I'm really trying to get my meditation into recovery centers.
Yeah.
Right. I'm in a couple right now and I absolutely love it. It's the best part of my day. I go in and I do some gentle yoga and breathing and meditation and absolutely love this part of my day. And so I really believe that this is where I'm being called. I really believe that one of the components that I was missing in my recovery in all of my life, like all of my life, was this coping skill of breathing, of self-care, pausing, taking care of myself. Like I always went to substance. I always went to harm. I always just went to something else.
Yeah, we wouldn't even take a breath and just fucking go grab a substance. Like anything other than a breath.
Yes. Like who would think to pause and breathe?
Right.
Yeah.
Look at your feet right here, right now. Just breathe, right? Like these are things that I go in and I teach them, like just breathe, right? The things that I wish I would have known. So, you know, my whole goal is to transition out of teaching this fitness, which I love.
Sure.
But really putting my passion into recovery homes, right? So yeah, I'm in some inpatient, some residentials, and some outpatients, and
Nice.
I'm just ready to grow it and just let God use me.
Yeah.
Whatever it looks like. I don't know. I'm scared because I know I have to stop one to grow the other. So there's this moment of leap of faith. And so, I'm ready.
He hasn't brought you this far to drop you.
That's it. For sure.
He never does.
Never.
Like, I mean, I really, honest to God, have 22 years of experience of God never failing me in my businesses and in life in general. But like, it's always my businesses that I get scared, right? Like where I'm like, oh my God, this isn't happening exactly how I want it to. And the money's not exactly where I want it to be. Fucking never.
How am I going to make payroll?
Well, there's enough money in the bank for payroll.
Yeah, but I mean, that's always the go-to because it's like, well,
but what if next week there's
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So
We'll worry about next week.
What if there is?
that part.
What if there is more? What if, because the one and only does abundantly above anything that we can think or imagine. He always does.
And that's when you have to pause and breathe, though, because we're human beings and we're gonna have fear.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with having fear. There's nothing wrong with having a little panic attack. There's nothing wrong with like getting a little cray. As long as you turn back to the to the
and
guy,
as long as it doesn't
to the boss, as long as it doesn't derail you.
Yeah.
As long as I don't stick a needle in my arm today, I'm pretty fucking good.
And that is what I always come down. That's what I always come back to.
The end of the day, man.
No matter what, right?
No matter what.
Doesn't matter how I get through it, as long as I'm getting through it without drinking or using, harming myself or someone else. Like, I am solid.
You guys ever really break down the third step prayer, like turning your will and your life over to the care, the third step in general, that turning your will and your life over to the care of God, like completely turning it over, like
God, I offer myself to you, like.
Because, like, you know how scary that is? Because what if he wants you to do ministry in prison?
Right.
Then that's what you're doing.
Like,
here's the part, too. My will and my lives, right? So plural. Everything that makes up me.
Yeah.
My thoughts, my body,
yeah,
my kids, my job, my mind, everything.
Everything.
That part, I was like, oh.
All of it? I need this piece.
That part.
I need to make sure that I can manage my own finances and I'll give it all, except I'm not okay if you make me go to prison and minister there. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, I don't believe that that's my will in any way, shape, or form, but like acceptance. That's where acceptance comes in too, right? Because is that the spirit? What's the spiritual principle of the third step? Does anybody know it offhand?
Trust.
Trust?
Yeah.
Trust.
It's honesty. Well, it's faith. Honesty, hope, and faith.
Yeah.
And then it's courage. Yeah.
It's like all the things, because you can't have any of those. Like, you can't give your entire, basically,
everything
without having faith, courage, trust, and hope. Those are everything.
Well, and then here's the thing. So I think I talked about this last time. Like, I've always believed in God.
Sure.
I haven't always trusted God.
For sure.
There's a big difference, right? So for me, that third step is huge. Like, I know there's a God. I believe there's a God. Do I trust that God? That's the part. So for me, when you talk about that breathe, right? That pause. For me, God is in the pause.
Yeah.
He's in the pause.
He's in the pause, right? And I have to practice the pause.
It's because the pause, the breath, the pause brings you back to here and now.
Yes.
And I say this often, whether it be on the podcast or anywhere that it happens to come about. God only lives in the here and now.
Absolutely.
So like, he doesn't live in our thoughts of what's going to happen in the future, nor does he live in our thoughts of what happened yesterday. Okay. He lives right here. God's right here in this room, in this very moment. And in the future he will be in this room when other people are listening to it, and they're in this moment of hearing us now, because they're gonna, in the future, people are gonna hear this. Absolutely. But God will be right here
there
with them.
I know.
How amazing is that, and beautiful is that?
It is.
And that's where the meditation, I mean, the step 11 really comes into play, is bringing people back to right now.
Absolutely.
Everything's okay right now.
and seeking God in the now.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. Like I'm constantly like, so I talked about those 6 steps that I do in the morning.
Yeah.
I do them all throughout the day too.
Yeah.
It's like the 12 steps. I think of the 12 steps like a clock, right? A clock keeps going in circles. So do the 12 steps. So does my 6 pillars.
Yeah.
Right. So I am constantly breathing, looking for gratitude, lining back up with my intentions, right? Because sometimes I get off.
Sure.
If things aren't going my way and I'm getting pissy, right? I'm like, I got to realign, come back to my intentions. So sometimes that means now I got to meditate. I need to ask God for help. Because for me, the meditation is really the pausing, the praying, the asking for guidance too, right? And then listening. But then I got to be mindful throughout the day.
Totally.
Walking in mindfulness. Because if not, I'm a mess.
For sure.
Oof.
Crab ass.
Yeah.
I'm a crab ass.
Well, I mean, it goes all in the like being in tune with your own, with oneself, being, if we didn't sleep enough, all of these little factors do play into how we go about our day. And if you're just running and gunning, you have no idea what's going on, and you're just basically at like this loose missile causing destruction, even if you are sober.
Exactly.
And that is not good. I'm actually I was going to say something, but that's not true.
You were going to say you were more destructive. You can be more destructive sober than you can be.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but that's not true.
It's not true for me either.
It's also
I'm very destructive.
It's also terrible too, because at least when I'm drinking and using, I have like
an excuse.
A lightweight excuse.
Reason, I know.
You know? Now, if I'm sober and I'm causing destruction, it actually causes a lot more pain because it's
so I will say less destruction in sobriety causes me more pain.
Same.
You know, because there's no, like, if I hurt somebody else in sobriety, like if I, normally anything I do at this point it's not intentional. I'm not like out to like harm anybody, but sometimes you make poor decisions even in sobriety. You say something hurts their feelings.
You know,
it's our humanness.
Yeah.
Right. And like that shit hurts me way more than the shit that I would do in my,
absolutely,
because that shit I half even remember. Like every once in a while, my wife will remind me of something I did or said in my disease. Oof. and not really in an intention to like harm me, just to remind me of how much pain it caused her, you know, and that, and I'm like, yeah, I did that, and I feel like at this point I've made especially living amends, because I don't repeat that behavior. But if I even repeat that behavior in a small amount towards her, that I'm like, fuck, you're such a dick, an idiot.
We actually
like
have a
that,
conscience.
Yes, yes,
conscience.
But that's where 10, 11 come in.
Absolutely.
Because you get to review your day and you're like, wait a minute, did I owe anybody like a quick little amends because I was acting a fool or I was whatever it may be, and you can right that wrong immediately, as opposed to doing what we do and pushing it off and blaming them, and then later on having a fucking whole amends left.
I mean, truthfully, we all have. What's my part? What's my part in it?
That's it.
What's my part in it?
Period.
And that's the only thing I actually have to worry about is what is my part in it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Do I owe you an amends?
Oh, those amends. You know, I still have a couple, right? It was one of those I think it was someone that Michael set up for one of the Tuesday nights, and he was talking about not getting through the amends. I don't remember who it was.
I think it was last week.
Yeah, was it an anonymous?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and so when he was talking about those amends, man, after watching that, right, we were like, oh shit, I got to get on my amends, right?
Same. I have a few.
Yeah.
Some I can't make.
True.
I have one, but fuck, man. And I could probably find her. She even, you know what? I owe this amends.
Look what God's doing for you and you can't do for yourself.
It's a big one.
Well, those amends are hard, man. I've been putting mine off, the ones that are current, just because I don't want to.
Isn't that the truth, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple. Some is George's family.
Sure.
Some is George's family.
Sure.
And I'm like, ugh. You know, when he passed, I got blamed for a lot.
Sure.
They were so angry at me.
Yeah.
They were so angry at me. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean I don't have to make my amends.
Right.
They're angry. They lost their brother, their son, they're right.
Yeah.
And so I'm using that as the excuse. I don't want to feel the pain. Right? But the truth is I got stuff to take care of.
Yeah. Unless I mean, there's the only unless, right? The only unless unless it harms yourself or others.
Yeah.
But pain isn't harm. I just want to be clear
Or
about
being
that.
uncomfortable.
Being uncomfortable isn't harm. As far as there's not,
Right.
it's not a loophole. Like, oh my God, this is
Right.
gonna hurt so bad. I can't do this. Amends.
But that's why we're lucky, because we do have a suggested program, and we're very fortunate because it does specifically say, like, it's not suggested to just all of a sudden blaze through our steps, get to our amends, and then like don't talk about it with our sponsor before we we.
Oh no, you definitely want to.
We read it. They read it.
Yep.
Talk about it before you go. You set up exactly like the get down to make sure everything is like
how I sponsor.
Yeah,
Yep.
is to make sure everything is good, because when we run our own little get down, it never
Oh, you could go run and ruin people's relationships because say you
terrible.
Let's just say for an instance you slept with a fucking married man and you're like, oh my God, I feel and you're dumb in recovery, right? And you're making the decision on your own. I need to go.
I'm better. I'm well. I
need to go. I need to go apologize to this man's wife because
my God.
It happens.
That is
people
like,
do that, and you actually
Totally.
should not apologize to that woman because she doesn't even know that you had an affair.
No, you're
So you're harming somebody.
Everyone.
There is no good
Now-
coming
A
out of
loose
that.
cannon running around.
Now you can go make amends to the person that
Sure.
you had an affair with and be like, that was a behavior that I am ashamed of. And
Or you can send them an email after your sponsor advises you, because now he is a married man.
send them an email.
Or something, instead of seeing them in person.
Who's them?
Or send I don't know, the person.
Yeah, you don't want to send the wife that.
No,
doesn't
No.
not to the unknown.
Not to the unknown, to the person that you had, because seeing that person could cause just as much harm.
It's true.
People have locations, people have things, all the
True.
stuff. So it's like, that's why it's so important to make sure you run all of your crazy ideas through a sponsor, through your mentor or whoever is taking you through the steps, because amends are tricky. And you got to make sure, especially with those like really heavy ones, affair, your situation is heavy.
It's heavy.
It's
Even,
heavy.
I mean,
It's a big
we were talking
one.
about breaking the law and stuff that's going to
Sure.
like, right? All these things. There's so much. Like,
So
just
much.
run it through someone.
Totally.
I mean, my sponsor was like, no, you're not going to go to the department store and tell them that you stole, $500 worth of stuff. You're going to actually go make a financial amends payments to
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Imagine you walk into like,
Some people do though.
I
Some
know,
people go
I
in and
hear
they're
it
like,
all the time.
it's actually dumb. My sponsor was fully advises against getting yourself at risk to go to jail when you're a free man, when they don't even know you've done this.
well, also too,
stuff.
sometimes I've heard, because I got petty theft at JCPenney. So like, I mean, I did my time because I had to go my own thing. I paid my financial ways too. But I've heard of people going up to a store clerk that like rings up your clothes and telling them the amends. If I'm the store clerk, I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do, bro.
And
Well done. You got away with it.
Thank you. And you're gonna give me that $100 bill? I'll put it in
feel
my
better.
pocket.
Yeah. Like, I hope.
Right, Lewis? Lewis
like-
is like, I hope somebody does that here.
Up to our own thinking is never the best, clearly.
But I sponsor a young lady who is, she caught a case and she was clean and sober and doing the deal and had to go and
Turn yourself in.
She
Totally.
just celebrated 5 years.
Nice.
Celebrated 5 years. She's in prison right now.
Oh, not
And-
nice. But
Yeah. But she wants to live a free life. Right?
Yeah.
So there was so many options. Like she could have ran, she could have this, she could have that, and she didn't. She, did what she had to do, and it will be over eventually.
I
be
I
okay.
think that is an appropriate. If you're already running,
Never good.
is not
Right?
the answer.
Yeah.
Had whatever she did never come to light,
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
whole nother story.
Totally.
But like you can't live
Yep.
that.
Yeah, you can't.
It's
always on
tough.
your back. It's always, regardless of it. It just happened with one of our guys too.
I mean, I'm thinking about what would I do if it was a really long sentence. And my sponsor's like, you got to go
about
turn
this one?
yourself in. You're gonna go do a life sentence, and I'd be like,
No, because then how many stories have we heard of that same scenario? And they turn themselves in. They tell the actual judge the truth, and then their sentence all of a sudden either just from
disappears.
Yeah.
that happens.
Well,
sometimes
I mean,
too.
here's the thing. She was supposed to get 30 some years.
Right.
Yeah.
She got 10.
Right.
They looked at her recovery. They looked at all the letters.
Totally.
They heard. The judge really heard and knew, and you know, she got a light sentence.
Yeah.
And
who knows? She got 10. She might do 5.
and
might do
that's
6.
it.
She might
That's
do.
yeah.
You know, you never know, especially
Might
because
do 8.
maybe 8.
She'll be out.
She'll be
She'll
out
be out.
sooner. She'll be out sooner. They put her in a
Sure.
good program.
Yeah.
Right. Her time's coming off by, you know, this program and
Yep.
good behavior, and
Yeah.
she's gonna be home
Good.
soon
For sure.
And
It's always do the
still clean and sober.
yes.
Yeah.
And probably helping people that she's in there with
Right.
and being of service.
Hopefully, yeah. Take a book in there.
Totally.
Run some NA meetings or AA meetings.
Yeah.
Any 12-step meeting, I don't care.
Exactly.
Well, Wendy, amazing podcast.
Yeah, you're the bomb. It's just a testament of just how strong and courageous you are. You know, your story is pretty wild, especially starting at such a young age to walk through, and then to be able to sit here today and tell your story. And you can tell you have such a piece about you, considering all of the pain and a lot of trauma, a lot of good, because obviously you learned a lot of life lessons through the trajectory of just from the start of everything to where you are today, which is going to help just so many people out there.
Yeah, that's it, to be of maximum service. Like I totally love how things come full circle. I can see how things come full circle in my life. I can see where the pain and suffering has helped someone else. There are plenty of people who have called me up and said, my husband took his life last night.
Right.
Yeah. You're uniquely qualified to help somebody.
So those people
especially
that feel like they're alone.
especially somebody who's you know has a loved one that has taken their life. You're uniquely qualified.
Turning the pain into something beautiful.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what we
I
do.
believe that's the purpose.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? I believe it comes full circle.
I just saw my daughter walk up like probably 5 minutes before you finished your story about you weren't at the part where he had killed himself yet, and my daughter had walked up and she looked in here and then she walked away, but she's also, you know, the one that found Justin dead in the love of her life. So
I've seen that. I've seen in the pain in the video, and to understand that, yeah, it's a horrible thing to experience.
yeah, and the same questions, because, you know, overdose, poisoning, you know, fentanyl, whatever it is, what could I have done?
Yeah.
Could I have been there?
Yeah.
You know, all these questions come up.
What ifs?
What ifs?
There's those are the things that I stay away from. These are like these 5 watchwords. So coulda, shoulda, woulda,
Totally.
what if, and why.
And she can relate a lot to what you talk about with the family, like the mom, that people blame her.
Yeah.
You know,
Of course, because people are hurting. So it's like,
hurting people hurt
yes.
people.
Yeah.
Hurting people just do hurtful things, you know, and it's because we're hurting. If you're not hurting, then you're actually probably loving,
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
So,
Of course.
anyways,
And
let's
I've
end on
decided that, you know, like healing people.
heal people.
Yes.
So,
For sure.
So like,
That
I-
look
I
what God,
feel
what it-
like
look what
I-
Jesus did.
yeah.
He poured love and healing. And what did that turn around to do? It spread the good news. You do it to one, it's a cycle. It's a chain reaction. So, you know, he heals someone and then they go and spread it around the town of like, look what can happen. Miracles every single day.
That's it. You know, so we take our healed and help heal.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for coming on.
Yes.
Beautiful podcast.
Thank you.
Beautiful.